Today, we're going to dive into one of the most powerful and, frankly, one of the most fascinating parts of your entire body. We're talking about something smaller than a pea, but it's basically the master control center for, well, almost everything. Let's get into it.
I mean, seriously, think about that. It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, doesn't it? This tiny little command center orchestrating everything from how tall you grow to how fast your metabolism runs. But it's not fiction at all. It's a very real part of you called the pituitary gland.
So, what exactly is it? Well, officially, the pituitary gland, or if you want to get fancy, the hypophysis cerebri, is the boss of your endocrine system. And it's earned that nickname, the master gland, for a really simple reason. Its hormones are the ones that tell pretty much every other gland in your body what to do and when to do it. Now, to really appreciate this little master gland, you have to understand where it lives. And trust me, its location is no accident. The body has built a literal fortress in your skull to protect its command center. All right, so let's go on a little journey. We're going to zoom right past the outer layers of the brain, and we're heading deep down towards the very base. We're going to a spot that is probably some of the most protected real estate in the entire human body. And there it is. See, the pituitary gland doesn't just hang out anywhere. It gets its own special saddle-shaped nook in one of the skull bones. This little spot is called the sella turcica, which literally means Turkish saddle. So you can just picture it as a custom-made bony throne for this tiny but incredibly powerful ruler. And this throne, it's really more like a high-security vault. Think about it. Right above it, you've got the optic chiasma. That's where your optic nerves cross over. Below it, you've got solid bone. And on either side, it's flanked by the cavernous sinus, a huge blood channel. It is completely boxed in, just dangling from the brain by this one little stalk. Perfectly safe, perfectly protected. Okay, so we found the gland safe and sound in its fortress, but this is where the story gets really weird. When we look closer, we find that this one single gland is actually a fusion of two completely different things, each with its own totally separate identity. Yeah, this gland has a serious split personality. You've got the front part, the anterior lobe, which is made of true glandular tissue, and then you have the back part, the posterior lobe, which is actually made of nerve tissue. But here's the mind-blowing part. One half literally develops from the roof of your mouth, while the other half develops directly from your brain. Two totally separate origins that come together to form one powerhouse of a gland. Let's zoom in on that anterior lobe, the real hormone factory. It's not just one big chunk. The main workhorse is this large section called the pars distalis. Then you've got the pars intermedia, which is this little sliver kind of wedged in the middle. And finally, the pars tuberalis, which forms this neat little collar right around the stalk, connecting the whole thing to the brain. Every part has its job in this intricate little system. Now, the posterior lobe, that tells a totally different story. It's less of a hormone factory and more of a storage warehouse. See, because it's basically an extension of the brain, its main job isn't to make hormones, but to store and release hormones that are actually produced in the brain. It's a direct line to the nervous system, which is what makes it so unique. Which, of course, brings us to the most fascinating question of all. How on earth do you get brain tissue and mouth tissue to meet up and fuse into one functional gland? Well, it's a pretty surprising origin story about a very unlikely partnership. The answer goes way, way back to our earliest moments as an embryo. It's an absolutely incredible act of biological teamwork. So check this out. While we're developing, this little pocket of tissue from the roof of the mouth, it's called Rathke's pouch, starts growing upward. At the exact same time, a little piece of the developing brain starts growing downward. They literally reach for each other and then they fuse. They become one single gland, a perfect mashup of two completely different parts of the body. It is absolutely incredible. So we've seen its perfect design, its unique origin story. But that very same anatomy, the thing that makes it so well protected, also creates some really unique problems when things go wrong. And that's the clinical connection. Remember that fortress we talked about? That incredible bony vault? Well, its well-protected location is a total double-edged sword. The very thing that keeps it so safe is also what causes major problems if the gland starts to grow, say because of a tumor. Because it's trapped in such a tight space, an enlarged pituitary has nowhere to go but up. And as it grows, it starts to press on the optic chiasma sitting right on top of it. This pressure causes a very specific kind of vision loss, like tunnel vision, a loss of your peripheral sight called bitemporal hemianopia. At the same time, all that pressure downward can actually cause its bony throne, the sella turcica, to expand, something a doctor can literally see on a simple X-ray. These are direct physical consequences of its amazing anatomy. So, what's the big takeaway here? I mean, the body's master gland, the one controlling so much of who we are physically, is a literal fusion of our brain and our body. It's not just the brain sending signals to the body, it's a structure that was born from both, working together as one. And it really makes you wonder, right? How much of the so-called mind-body connection isn't just a connection at all, but a true physical integration? Something to think about.